pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic
which is stands
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. We're going to go ahead and do the roll call, and forgive me, I know a couple of us are having some issues with our links. It looks like hopefully before we go through roll call, we'll get everyone we need here. So I'm going to start with the folks' face I see. Councilmember Dill, please state your location.
I'm present in the city of South Lyon.
Thank you. Councilmember Kurtzwell.
Present in the city of South Lyon.
Thank you. Councilmember Mosier. You're muted, Councilmember.
Present, city of South Lyon.
Thank you. Don't worry, everyone gets like 30 of those. Councilmember Hanson.
Present in the city of South Lyon.
Thank you. All right. Glenn was having issues as well. Councilmember Kennedy, go ahead.
Present, city of South Lyon.
Thank you. I appreciate your assist on that. I am present and I'm at City Hall here in the city of South Lyon, and City Clerk Deaton, if you could just make a timestamp note of when we get Councilmember Kivel in.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. We're going to move on to the approval of City Council minutes, November 8th, 2021. Councilmember Kennedy.
On page 5, about 2/3 of the way down, it was Councilmember Kivel that made the nominating motion for Mayor Pro Tem, not me, Lisa.
Thank you.
You bet. That's all I had.
Councilmember Dill.
I'll move the minutes.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Point
Any-
of order.
Absolutely.
Excuse
Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
The motion needs to be made that you're moving the minutes as amended.
Yeah, you're right. My apologies. I move the minutes as amended.
Thank you, Councilmember Dill.
I'll second
have-
as amended.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Do we have any further discussion on the minutes? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. We have no bills this evening, so we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Councilmember Kennedy,
I'll move the agenda.
I'll support.
thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Tonight's consent agenda includes the holiday spectacular. Councilmember Kurtzwell,
Thank you. Move the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. At this time, we'll open the floor for public comment. Please remember to state your name and address, and please remember our 2-minute time limit. I know the city clerk is probably helping some of our members get on here at this point. City Clerk Deaton, do we have anyone for public comment? You can just give me a head nod. Okay, thank you. At this time, we will close our first public comment. We'll move on to the discussion of downtown and Mr. Nate Mack.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First up is a report on Ladies' Night. The event went very well. There was probably about 500 people that showed up throughout the course of the evening. All of the business owners that I talked to that were open on the night of the event said that they all did very well and people were downtown and shopping and having a good time. The only slight hiccup was when the picnic tables were being set out that it rained on them, so they got all wet. So they weren't the greatest to sit on being wet, but the heaters were a nice touch and quite a few people used them to stay warm. As people were lining up to get the goodie bags, We moved a few heaters over towards the line because that's where the people were. So they were able to get warm. And so and then we moved them back and people used them to stay warm for the event. It was a good event though. We've met with the applicant for a proposed apartment development in downtown, still in the early stages of that. However, once we have more information on that, I'll share more details as we progress. As was just passed, the Holiday Spectacular event is scheduled for Saturday, December 4th. Listing of the events that will take place was included in the packet. Just a couple of the things that I want to make note. Obviously, the parade will begin at 6 o'clock. We'll have the fire pits in the farmers market lot as opposed to on the street. I know there was some concern from the fire department in 2019 about having fire pits close to people. So I figured we should probably just avoid that altogether. A couple other things. There are 2 community organizations that are looking for charitable donations. So first is Active Faith. They're accepting new and unused personal hygiene items in the farmers market lot. And the Sparrow Freedom Foundation is accepting new and unused winter gear. So that's like hats, gloves, blankets, socks, and hoodies in the venue parking lot. And then the Christmas House is accepting canned goods for as an entry to do a tour of the Christmas House as well. Shop Small Saturday is taking place this Saturday, November 27th. I received a small box of items from American Express, as well as about 1,200 bags from Oakland County, as well as posters that I've distributed to downtown businesses. I'll be going outside of downtown tomorrow, but I've been trying to hit every business in downtown to get those. So they came on Thursday and I've been passing them out yesterday and today. Oakland County Parks Department has released, will be releasing, it was supposed to be released on Monday of last week. They pushed it back to Friday and it still hasn't been released yet, but it's a grant for park improvements in communities that's available. It's due on January 14th and we're planning on submitting an application for that. Next is the Twisted Cork, the new winery downtown. They'll be having a ribbon cutting ceremony on Tuesday, November 30th at 4 p.m. They wanted me to extend the invitation to any council members that would like to attend that event. Yeah, with that, that's the end of my report. I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you. Councilmember Dill, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No questions, just wanted to say thanks for your effort on Ladies' Night. It was really great. It was a kind of a bummer that it rained and was a little cold and rainy, so people didn't get to hang out as much, but people did talk about how happy they were to be able to cross the street without worry. So I think the closing on the street was really helpful. And I just wanted to point out and thank the businesses for doing such an amazing job. And I really wanted to call out Billy Smokes. They did an amazing job upstairs during Ladies' Night. And they really catered to all the ladies and were really encouraging people to come up, and they had a big spread and everything for them. So I just am really pleased with the effort that everyone put in. And just want to say thank you for making that such a good event. That's all. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Dill. Councilmember Kurtzwell.
Yes, I would like to also add to that is that it was an incredible night. I think everybody had a really good time. And you know what, with the rain, with it being chilly, it kept everybody inside. And guess what? They sat there and they shopped and they shopped and they shopped and they shopped. So I think it worked out really well for everybody. And I just think this is becoming one of those classic events that South Lyon is going to be known for, is this Ladies' Night. Because I was with a lot of individuals that were not from South Lyon. And this was their second or third time coming to our Ladies' Night. So I think this is becoming hopefully a destination event. And I would like to see continue building on this event and maybe some surprises next year. I don't know what they'll be, but maybe we can find some surprises and really make this an incredibly special event here in South Lyon. So thank you, Nate. Thank you to all the businesses. Just a fabulous night. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Kurtzwell. Councilmember Hanson, go ahead.
Very quickly, I just had a quick question for Nate. The ribbon cutting for Twisted Cork, you said it was Tuesday, November 30th. What time was that ribbon cutting?
4 o'clock.
All right. Anyone else have anything for Nate this evening? All right, great. Thanks, Nate.
Thank you.
Move on to the fire chief report. Looks like we might have Deputy Chief Weir here with us tonight. Chief Weir,
Good
are you
evening.
there?
Can you
Okay,
hear
yep,
me?
yes, I got you now.
All right, I'm not sure why my video is not working. I apologize for that. Just want to say welcome to the new council members and returning. Congratulations on your seats. Hopefully everybody received the coin that I put out for you guys. That's an example of the coin that we are selling to raise money for the first responder memorial. They are for sale. Graciously, the police department has volunteered to handle the sales for me, just to keep a number of hands out of it and everything consistent as far as sales go. So we are accepting exact cash or check made out to the city of South Lyon with a memo for the First Responder Memorial Fund. This week we took delivery of Car 2's replacement. It's a Ford F-150 pickup truck. So that will be getting sent out for lights, sirens, and lettering, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. We're just waiting for an appointment to open up. This week, we also took delivery of the $1,000 donation in materials from Lowe's. So I would like to say a big thank you to Lowe's for their generosity in helping us out with our training facility. And I would also like to congratulate the South Lyon Lions on a fantastic season this year. Those boys played really hard and we're proud of them. And lastly, we are approaching Christmas. So I just wanted to leave a friendly reminder for everybody that gets a real tree to make sure that you keep them watered and any potential fire sources clear of them.
All right, thank you, Deputy Chief Weir. Some great reminders. And does anyone have anything for Deputy Chief Weir this evening? All right, thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the police chief report and Chief Sovic. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it. A couple of things. Yeah, we had a great send off for the football team this past Saturday, and things went well. We escorted them all the way from the high school to I-96, and a pretty big crowd at the high school and pretty good turnout. So just wanted to appreciate working with them. And also to the South Lyon High Ladies Swim and Dive team and the South Lyon East Ladies Swim team. Apparently, I learned this past weekend that they participated in the in some finals competition as well, with several of them placing in certain events. And had we known that they were going to head on out to the state tournament, then we would have also given them a proper send off or any type of escort. So had we known about that, we would have done that. As far as these send offs and these escorts, if anybody is interested in doing something for us with us, then we'd be more than happy to partner with you and interact in any way, whether it's a birthday celebration or a stop by and a chat or something. If we don't know about it, we don't know about it. But if you do, we'd be more than happy to interact with our community. So congratulations to them. And speaking of community, the SLPD, along with the Big B in town, this coming Sunday afternoon from noon to 4, some of our officers will be helping and be kind of pseudo baristas. We're going to be helping them serve coffee between 12 and 4. And every drink that the Big B sells, a portion of that is going to be donated to the Wigs for Kids Foundation that we are currently working through. So in November. So we're looking forward to that. And so looking forward to that event on this Sunday from noon to 4. And finally, our generator project is going really well. We have the concrete pad in there. I think you guys have seen a picture in the council packet, but the pad is in and all the conduit and all the wiring and everything from the building to the generator is actually in place. And it's buried now. So December 9th, Consumers Energy will come out and adjust the main line, which is going from a 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches. Then the following day, SPS will be back out to hook up everything throughout the building and everything. So after that, the only thing we'll be waiting for is a generator itself, which we're expecting sometime in January or February. So that project's coming along good. So other than that, Mr. Mayor, that's all I have for you this evening.
All right, thanks, Chief. Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a comment for both Deputy Chief Weir and for Chief Sovic. I would strongly encourage the both of you that whenever you have an opportunity at a city council meeting to continue to discuss your role in public relations with the community. You can't believe how important those contacts are. And I hear about them. I think Chief Sovic, you know, because I've fed information back, citizens have gotten information back to me, but this goes to Chief Weir. I was shown over the weekend some incredible pictures of fire department employees during our downtown trick or treat. And you made some really, really incredible families very happy with how your firefighters treated and passed out candy downtown. So these connections that you are making in the community, I'm telling you, they are leaving very, very positive images on the city. Use this forum as an opportunity to promote the good service that you are doing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kurtzwell. Do we have anything else for Chief Sovic tonight? All right, thanks, Chief. We will move on now to our public hearing for the 2022 Cdbg allocation.
Each year, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development provides funds to jurisdictions throughout the county for projects that meet their national objectives. Here in South Lyon, we receive funds from HUD by Oakland County. This coming year, our tentative allocation will be $30,225. Last year, the city designated the funds to be used for Senior Center and Haven. The 2022 Cdbg application deadline for receiving the funds is Friday, December 17th, 2021. On October 29, 2021, the city published notice of the Cbg Public Hearing, which tonight gives the opportunity for hearing public comments relating to allocating those funds in South Lyon. I've attached the public hearing notice and tentative South Lyon allocation. Tonight, we need to open the public hearing, hear any public comments other than city council or staff, and then close public hearing. And later on in tonight's agenda, we will present and vote on the 2022 Cdbg public allocation.
Thank you, City Manager Zelnick. At this time, 7:47, we will open the public hearing on the Cdbg allocation. City Clerk Deaton, please let us know if we have any public comment.
We do not.
All right. At 7:48 p.m., we will close the public hearing for the Cdbg allocation. We will now move on to our MERS presentation tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, we have a presentation on our annual MERS Employment Retirement System of Michigan. We have MERS is in attendance tonight to give council an explanation regarding the packet and the information that you've been provided. They'll be also happy to answer any questions. Sue is in the queue and is here, and she is ready to give her presentation.
Up, Sue, you're muted. There you go.
Okay,
Yes.
well, good evening. Thank you for inviting me to speak with you tonight. My plan is to review your most recent annual actuarial valuation with you. I'd like this to be as helpful as possible and time well spent for you. So please feel free to stop me along the way. You know, we can make this more of a conversation, ask questions if I say something that doesn't resonate or make sense. Because again, I want this to be time well spent. I'll back up. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sue Feinberg, and I am the regional manager for the Municipal Employees Retirement System, and I have been with MERS for 18 years. We are a not-for-profit entity and are governed by an elected board of peers of our municipalities. With that said, let me see if I can pull up your annual actuarial valuation and share that with you. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, let me see if I can make it just a little bit bigger. How's that? Is that okay?
That looks good. And plus, I believe all the council members received a hard copy in their packet as well.
Excellent. Okay. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is how these are generated. So this is as of 12/31/2020. So anything that's happened in your plan in 2021 would not be reflected in this. The actuaries at the end of every calendar year look at everything that has transpired in your plan. So money in, money out. They use all these assumptions to determine what your required employer contributions are going to be for your next upcoming fiscal year. So what this annual valuation is giving you is it's giving you your rates for your fiscal year starting in 2022. Now, MERS actuaries do an extensive experience study every 5 years. That experience study takes place with the data from all over the United States within the state of Michigan, and then they drill down within the members of our system. So what they're looking at is they're looking at to ensure that we are still using assumptions, you know, the best assumptions that we can. And so when they see that we need to make changes, they'll come back to our board and they make recommendations, and then the board will vote on changes that are going to be implemented. So with this actuarial valuation, it's actually the second part of our most recent 5-year study. Within that study, the actuaries came back and made a couple of different recommendations to the board. One of those recommendations was lowering our rate of return assumption. And so the rate of return assumption was lowered from 7.75 to 7.35. That was included in your 2019 actuarial valuation. So those are in your this year's rates, in your 2021 rates. The second part of the recommendation for the experience study was making change to the mortality tables and the demographics of the employees. So again, employees are living longer, and so you're going to be paying their pension a little bit longer. So there were adjustments on that side of it. So keep in mind, whenever we make these assumptions, we're making them more conservative, right? People are living longer, we're lowering our rate of returns. So the impact that actually has on the city's plan is when we make these adjustments, it does affect your funding level, and it's also going to impact your cost. So I don't want you to be discouraged because you're moving in the right direction as we go through this report. I just want to let you know that for the past couple of years, you know, the impact on your overall funding level has basically been due to us making adjustments so that we're using the most current assumptions possible. Any questions about that? All right, let's go ahead and get started. First thing we'll take a look at is your overall funding level. So we always take a look at the prior year. So as you can see, as of the end of 2019, you were 66% funded. As of the end of 2020, you were 65% funded. So this is an example of the impact of us making those demographic changes that impacted your funding level. I do want to say that I saw more of an average of 2 to 3% of a decrease. So the fact that you only went down speaks well. Going on, we're going to take a look at what your contributions are going to be going forward. So what we're doing here is we're actually showing you, what you're currently paying and then what your contributions are going to be on a going forward basis. So with this, we will take a look at the far right column. So that far right column, that no phase in as of July 1st of 2021, that's currently what MERS is billing the city of South Lyon. So you see at the bottom on an annual basis, that's $706,524. So that's this year. Now going forward, you're going to go to the third column in, and these are a little confusing because you'll notice at the top, it says no phase in and phase in. Those are options if you choose to phase in the impacts of these changes and assumptions. So basically, you're going to smooth that impact over a 5-year period instead of really paying the full impact of the assumption change. Now, keep in mind, we have been billing as a default the phasing in. And then if communities let us know that they didn't want it phased in, they wanted to pay that full impact, then we bill under the full impact. Now, on a going forward basis, the default is going to be the no phase in. So those are the numbers we're going to look at. But I'd also like to mention that the city has chosen to not use the default of phasing it in. The city has been paying at the no phase in rates. So we'll see, going over that no phase in, the increase in your cost going up almost $80,000 on July 1st of 2022. Again, you know, a lot of this is due to the changes in the assumptions, and you're also moving in the right direction because you're also paying off your unfunded liability. So as you're bringing down that unfunded liability, which means you're moving towards being 100% funded, you're going to be paying down that cost. So that is going to be driving up your contributions. Below that, we're showing you what the employees are currently contributing. And you can see we'll show the prior year and then the current year. So there are a couple of year divisions, you know, that do automatically adjust. And so you'll see that in this box. For example, Division 2, the Police and Fire Division, their employee contributions went up 0.5%. And the same with the clerical. They went up, they were 2.09 and they went up to 2.5%. Any questions on that table? Okay. Let's go ahead. There's a lot of great information in here about, you know, the return assumptions. So comments on the investments, the assumption changes that were impactful in 2020. We did have a really good year for 2020. Our ending rate of return assumption was around, I think it was 13.64%. Now, remember, that's great, but we're using an assumption. So the assumption that we're using is 7.35. So awesome that we exceeded what we were assuming we were going to make. So what they do every year, whether it's a gain or a loss, so whether we overperform or we underperform what we're assuming we're going to make at the end of the year, it's smoothed over a 5-year period. So the gain from last year is smoothed over, and that's for contribution volatility, so that you're not seeing spikes in your contribution requirements, you know, on an annual basis. We used to have a 10-year smoothing, and so we are just getting out of, honestly, 2008. So you have been feeling that because 2008 was at a 10-year. So that was a 25% loss. And so that loss was pushed out over a 10-year period. And then a couple of years ago, we went to the 5-year smoothing so that it may be a little bit more impactful if we have some more dips in the market, but at least we recover more quickly. When we did that, it did take the end of the 10-year and pull it out a little bit more. So that's why we're just finishing up on that 2008 finally. So that is a good thing. So now any gain or loss would be smoothed over a 5-year period. This table is for budgeting purposes. So you'll see the 3 different sections on this table. The top one is the one that we're going to be looking at, that is using the 7.35 rate of return assumption and not phasing the assumption changes in. These 2 lower ones are if you choose to budget more conservatively. We're just showing you what your contribution requirements would be if you were using a rate of return assumption of 5.35 or of 6.35. But we're going to be looking at this top. So we're showing you going across the top as of 2022, July 1st, what your actuarial accrued liabilities are, your assets in your plan, funding level, and then that required contribution that we saw in that earlier table, that 7,080. Okay, sorry, it's late. It's been a long day. There you go, that number right there. But we're going to show you trending. So I think this is really important to see because as you can see, you're trending in the right direction. So your contributions are going to go up a little bit, and then they actually, are going to hover. They're really not going to change a whole lot, but you're going to be moving your funded level in the right direction. And that's really the most important thing to keep in mind. So now we're going to show you that information in a graph form. So when we look at your funded percentage, that gap between currently being 65% funded and being 100% funded is amortized over a period of time. It's like a mortgage payment. So currently with your 2020 valuation, it's at a 19-year amortization period. Next year it'll be at 18, and it's going to continue to go down until it's gone. So assumptions being met, theoretically, in 19 years, if you make nothing more than your minimum required payments, your plan is going to be 100% funded. So that's what this graph is showing you, okay? We're going to look at the solid blue line because that's the 7.35 rate of return assumption. These are the more conservative assumptions. So we're looking at where you are now at that 65% funded. And as you can see, you're going to be trending in the right direction. So again, just making your minimum contributions, it shows you being 100% funded in about 2039. So I think that that is a nice long-term strategy to look at. Now this solid green line, that's in there for Treasury's purposes because the Treasury Department really 60% funded for defined benefit plans in the state of Michigan. They just ask that they want to know, what are the cities, counties, townships doing? Is there any risk that they're not going to be able to make your payments? Tell us what you're doing. Everyone has to fill out form 5572 for Treasury on an annual basis. As long as you're above 60% funded, you're fine. In Treasury, we work very close with them. They know the graphs, they know the amortization period, they know that everybody in the plan is moving towards becoming 100% funded. But this is what they'll look at. They'll look at the solid line because you'll be attaching this valuation with that form 5572. Now for long-term budgeting, this shows you what your contribution pattern is going to be. So we can see it now, and then we'll see it. It's fairly stable. It is going to go up a little bit. It's going to be going up right there. You hit about $1 million. That's 2039. So then you see that sharp drop. That's when you become 100% funded. Okay, so you're going to be paying that off. Your funding level is increasing. You're 100% funded. Once you're 100% funded, you don't have that unfunded liability that you're paying at. So now you're just paying the normal cost of your plan. So this is any actives that are still left in your plan, earning one more year of service credit. The city closed their plan in 2018, so all your employees that were hired after that period and on a going forward basis will be in your defined contribution plan or your hybrid plan that you have set up. But this will be, anybody that's currently in the plan, and you'll see that the cost really goes down. Any questions on those? I really like these graphs because I really think they help you look at the long-term health of your plan. This breaks down your required contribution. So this shows us what the normal cost is. When I was talking about just the normal cost, this is the total normal cost for each one of your divisions. What that normal cost is that's the cost for the actives in each one of these divisions to accrue one more year of service credit. So that cost is determined on their age, how much longer before they're going to be eligible to retire, and the benefits in their individual divisions. The next column has the employees' contributions. Now you don't see it broken down on these divisions because these divisions were closed. Your command division is the division that was still open at the end of 2020. So when we're billing you, it's more of a flat dollar amount, but we're showing you what the actual normal cost is and the employees contributing. So if we look at that in dollar amounts, we can go down here and we can take a look at the total. So the required employer contribution for the plan for the normal cost is $211,488. If your plan was currently 100% funded, that's what you would be billed. This next piece is that unfunded liability. Okay, so that $575,100, that's that difference between 65% funded and 100. So that cost will continue to go up, right? A little bit as you're paying it down. So as your funding level is going up, you're paying that down. So you can see that the main driver of your plan is just getting that unfunded liability paid down. And then we're showing you over here the phase in and no phase in. So this matches that first table on what your required contributions are going to be starting in 2022. These tables just show you what the benefit structures are. I'll quickly go through one. I won't go through them all. For example, Division 1 has a 2.5% multiplier. Age 60 is a normal age that anybody in the system can retire if they're vested. It's a 10-year vesting. And an unreduced pension would be if they had 25 years of service and they were age 55. Calculated, their formula is over a best 5-year period. The employees are contributing that 2.5%. So when they get ready to retire, the formula that we use to calculate what their benefit is going to be is we're using their multiplier times however many years of service they have with the city, and then their FAC, which is broken down into months. So it's consecutive months for a 5-year period. Normally it's the end of their career. And so all three of those things are multiplied together, and that gives them what their annual benefit is going to be, and just divide it by 12, and that's their guaranteed monthly benefit for life. So those are all the divisions, and those are the current provisions in them.
Question,
Yes.
Councilmember Hertzwell, go ahead.
have I been recognized?
Yes, sorry, I was looking at the graph. Forgive me if your hand was up for a while.
No, that's okay. I'd like to go back to page 15. And I had a question. Could you talk a little bit about the multiplier? That seems high. What's the range? What's the range on the multiplier?
Multipliers can range from normally 1 to, I've seen 3% multipliers, 2.5% multipliers, you know, back in the day, especially for public safety, were probably the most common multiplier. You know, a lot of union negotiations were able, you know, these were able to be negotiated in. It is a higher multiplier. It is a very nice benefit. There's not many that are still open. Most cities, counties, townships have set up a different structure for their new hires. So they either go into a lower multiplier or they go into what you have designed, you know, your defined contribution plan. So it is a generous multiplier that was adopted a long time ago.
Yeah, I think 2008 or 9, somewhere around there. I don't know for sure, but and how does that affect our overall contributions? Because we have this generous multiplier.
This factors into your normal cost. So when I'm talking about the normal cost, so when we're looking at Division 1 and we're calculating what it's going to cost, they're looking at, you know, the employees. Let me just jump ahead to the table that I was on to kind of explain it a little bit better. So when we're looking at that Division 1, as of the end of 2020, there were 14 active employees in there. So, you know, we've calculated this is what the payroll, you know, that was reported. And so we're calculating all of these 14 employees. We're looking at, you know, how long are they going to live? How long are they now? How old are they now? They were like 43 and a half then. How many years of service was the average? It's around 12 and a half. All of those things. And then they look at what their benefit is going to be because they're projecting how much longer they're going to be working. And then what the 2.5% multiplier and the payroll that you're reporting, what their lifetime benefit is going to be. Because all these assumptions are moving pieces every year. And that's why there's changes to them to stay current. So with the normal costs, they're looking at the provisions in that division. So they're looking at that 2.5% multiplier. They're projecting forward what these employees are projected to receive when they do retire. You know, how many more years? We're building in price inflation, wage increases. There's a lot of built-in things so that we're ensuring that you're properly funding this benefit that you're promising for a lifetime for an employee. So yes, the higher multiplier is a higher cost. The lower multiplier, it would be a lower cost for the benefit. So right now with that particular provision in that division, I'm sorry if I make you dizzy, but let's go back up here. It's 10.57%. And then the employees are contributing 2.5%. So really that brings it down to what? 8% approximately that the employer is paying for that benefit. In what I see, you know, 8% for a normal cost is not a high benefit. It isn't. But you've got employees in there that are 43, so they're not going to be able to collect for a few more years. So they're going to be contributing to the plan. You're going to be contributing to the plan. So that time value of money, that interest that you're earning on that money, you know, going in until they can collect helps bring it down. The older a division is, you know, the older the employees, so they're closer to being able to start collecting their benefits. With the higher provisions is going to be a little bit more. You know, you'll see on the next division, it's police and fire division, okay? Normal cost is 12.43. I believe they have the same provisions. They do. So let's take a look at their data. There's only 7 people left in that division, and they're 48 years old, and they've got 21 years of service. So there's a lot more service under those employees, and they're about 5 years older. So they're going to be eligible to collect sooner than the group in Division 1. So that is going to drive the cost up a little bit more in this division. So there's a lot of different assumptions that are used. But to go back to your original question, a higher multiplier does increase the overall cost. Does that answer your question?
So one way possibly to control costs would be to lower the multiplier. Is that a true statement?
Mm-hmm.
So if we lowered the multiplier, we would not have to kick in as much money, you know, or hopefully our increases would not be as high as they're being projected. So that would save the taxpayers money, and we would not have to go to the employees and ask for additional contributions. So I'm looking at it saying, why would that not be a win-win for everybody, including our residents who are paying for this, if we brought that multiplier down to maybe 2.25 or 2.15?
Mm-hmm.
What are the arguments for and against adjusting that multiplier? And let's assume no union contracts, so that you have to go back and open contracts. I'm just here for the broad debate,
Mm-hmm.
the pros and the cons of adjusting that multiplier.
Mm-hmm. You can bridge it down going forward because, you know, for public employees, pensions are protected under the state constitution.
Mhm.
So you can, you know, bridge that multiplier down on a going forward basis. So you could take the 2.5% multiplier, bring it down to a 2.25, bring it down to a 2, you can bring it down to whatever you want on a going forward basis. So when an employee got ready to retire, their pension would be calculated with 2 separate numbers, right? So if they'd been there 10 years, the first 10 years would be calculated at a 2.5% multiplier. And then you bridged in the second half would be calculated with a lower multiplier, say a 2. Because if you're really going to see a savings, moving it a quarter doesn't really move the needle. So if you moved it 0.5%, you moved it down to 2. It's not a real popular option, to be completely honest with you. I've been doing this for a long time. Employees, in my experience, would choose to pay more for this benefit and keep the benefit rather than have their lifetime benefit reduced. I mean, honestly, 2.5% is much lower than our average employee contribution for a 2.5 multiplier. For a 2.5% multiplier in our system, the average is right around 6.5% that employees are contributing.
Excuse
So-
me? Excuse me?
I said the average in our system for a 2.5% multiplier with the employee contributions is around 6.5%.
We're way off. Anyway, okay, next question. Very interesting. Very interesting. I wanted to also ask, when you're looking at the years in which, let's say an employee is getting ready to collect their retirement, does this plan say, let's say that employee A, because I'm trying to understand an issue that's later on in here, but it kind of fits in here too. Employee A retires today. Employee A lives 5 years, passes. Does the spouse get to collect until her passing?
It depends on what they've chosen. Okay, when someone gets ready to retire, we go over their options with
Right.
them. And so they can choose, if they have a spouse, they can choose a straight life benefit. So the spouse, when they pass, the benefit is over, or they can choose to have, a percentage go to their spouse. So for example, if someone retires and they choose 50% to survivor, that means that when they pass, their spouse will continue to collect 50% of what their spouse was collecting until their death. But how that's calculated, when someone gets ready to retire, there's a value to their benefit. And we know what that value is, right? We've been doing, we know what the value of their pension is. We know how long we expect them to live, all of these assumptions. And so when they choose their spouse, their pension is reduced, and it's reduced based on the retiree's age. We're basing it on how long we think they're going to continue to live. And we're also basing it on their spouse's age. So if the spouse is close in age, it won't be as much of a reduction. However, if someone has married a spouse that is 20 years younger, we know that person is going to be collecting, for most likely maybe an additional 20 years past what their the retiree was. And so they're going to see more of a reduction. So what I'm saying is, we have for example, a piece of pie, we have a value to that benefit. And what the employee chooses is how that pie is divvied up. So even if they choose something like that, we're doing the assumptions on our part as to how much that benefit is going to be decreased.
But the city's liability for the city's pension liability, and the point I'm making, does not necessarily end with the employee's passing, because there may be another beneficiary on that policy that is going to continue to collect from the city. So the city's liability may not end for that employee for 30 years.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions before I go on? All right, so I think we were ending here. So we're breaking down all the divisions. We're looking at the active employees in each division. what changed? So with the Division 1, their actives went down, so they lost one. So there's 14 actives still in the plan. There's 2 vested former employees. So what that means is these are people who have met the 10-year vesting requirement. However, they're not eligible to start collecting yet. They're either not 55 with 25 years of service, or they haven't reached age 60. So they stay in that category until they're eligible to collect. So when you go down a person, that usually means that one of these people became eligible to start collecting the benefit. And we know what the benefit is going to be. We're accounting for that ahead of time. So we can see right here with these 2 employees, we know that, the city is going to be paying $38,387 at some point between the 2 of them. So it's being accounted for. And then in this division, there's 11 beneficiaries and or retirees. And so councilperson, to your question, these could be spouses. These could be a combination of retirees and or their beneficiaries. And there was 2 more that were added, were eligible to start collecting. So we do that for every division. And with your plan being closed, we're going to see the trend of the active employees are going to continue to go down because of the new hires going into your defined contribution plan. So you can see, and that's where you added your 2 retirees to the plan. So it just kind of gives you an idea of where you are with participants. This are market value assets. So these assets for the plan have absolutely no smoothing mechanisms in them, okay? This is just straight assets in the plan. This next table, I hope you find as interesting as I do. This is one of my favorite tables in the annual valuation because it goes back to 2010. So it always gives you a 10-year look. And it really is a good look at assets in and assets out of your plan. So when we're taking a look at this plan, we're taking a look at the very bottom, that bottom row. So that's showing you for 2020, the requirements. So that very bottom line is showing you in 2020, the minimum requirement that MERS was billing the city was at $603,057. Okay, that was the phase-in numbers. But we're going to look at that next column because that shows that the city was paying no phase-in. So that shows as an additional column simply because at that point, the default was not phasing it in. So that's just the way the actuaries account for that. So on a going forward basis, it will not show up in the additional column because it's just going to be the total default that you're paying. And then we look at the employee contribution. So that's at $47,255. So that's what the employees contributed in 2020. This is the money that you earned or the investments on your total assets for the plan, that $987,171. This is the money going out for your beneficiaries. You can see it went up. You added a couple more beneficiaries to the payroll. So that $881,575, that's the money that you were paying out to retirees. And your balance, asset balance in the plan was just over $13 million. Now, I think something that's really important to look at, and this is one of the reasons that I like this table, is with the defined benefit plan, it's designed so that, the better funded you are, the more money's in there, the more money is working for you. So you're benefiting from that rate of return, right? So that interest, that $987,000, more than covered, the employees, retirees, I should say, the retirees and or their beneficiaries. So money going out. So this is a very good thing. I mean, this shows your money in there working for you. And this is just going to continue to be your trend as your plan becomes better funded and you're moving towards being fully funded. So this is good. It's very good. So when you get frustrated, I hope you keep that in mind because I think that's a really important point. This next table just breaks it down by divisions. So each one of your divisions has its own actuarial liabilities. So we can see, in Division 1, the ASME division, what the active active employees liability is. And if you notice, the liability goes up every year a little bit. I get this question a lot. It's because the employees are still in there and they're still accruing another year of service credit, right? So the liability for that employee is going to go up. So the liabilities will go up. This is your former vested, right? The employees who are vested but not collecting. And we've got the payroll for retirees going out each one of the divisions. Pending refunds, these are just employees that are not vested that could take the refund, and then the city would not be liable for any pension going forward, and the totals. And then all the way across, it gives you what each individual division's funding level is. And then it gives the cities as an aggregate, that 64.6%. And your total unfunded liabilities. So as of the end of 2020, that's 7.1 million. That's your total unfunded liability. So that's the amount that you're going to be paying off in the next 19 years. These next tables are historical tables. So they're just something nice. If you want to look back, you can go all the way back to 2006. So where were we funded? What's happened over the years? And a lot of times when you see dips, just remember that it's MERS making changes to our assumptions, which every 5 years, we're normally making some type of an adjustment based on the actuaries' recommendations. So when you went from 74 to 69%, that's when we lowered our rate of return from 8 to 7.75. They're pretty impactful. They really are, but it's the right thing to do as the plan fiduciary. And then these tables just break it down each individual division. So we're showing you, from the time the division, from 2010, divisions were started, what the history has been for payments, their funding levels, all of that good stuff. It's just a lot of good history if you're ever interested. And then if we keep going, which again, I'm sorry if I'm making you dizzy, is your GASB 68. Your statement information is included in there for your auditors. And then these tables in the very back, these benefit provision history tables are really nice too, because this shows you, like with Division 1, you came into the plan back in 1967. And it shows back in 1967 what the provisions were that came into the plan. And I believe a C1, I think, might have been a 1.25% multiplier. And so then you can see, like, over time, multiplier went up. I think that was a 1.5, and it went up 94 to a 2% multiplier. Went up to a 2.25% multiplier. It went up to a 2.5% multiplier. And I apologize for our acronyms. That's what a B4 means. So these things too, when there are changes to the plan, there didn't used to be plan policies. MERS didn't have policies that prevented employers from making changes to their plan that was going to set them back. Okay, which created a liability that wasn't being pre-funded. And so it used to be, you could go to the negotiating table and negotiate, like in 2008, so right around the time we started making some of the changes, but do that because every time changes to the plan were made, it created an unfunded liability. So the actuaries are doing their calculations based on one multiplier, and then all of a sudden it's, you increase that. All that prior service credit has now been undervalued, right? Because now the way we've been billing you under that particular multiplier is not correct, because now their benefit is actually going to be higher. So it actually always, when those things happened, created a liability because it wasn't funded where it should be. Now, and over the past few years, we've made a lot of changes to our plan document that will not allow employers to make any changes to their plan unless you're at least 80% funded, and any change has to be funded upfront if it's going to create any type of liability, so that we keep you moving in the right direction. But when you look at, if you look at the history and you look at funding levels of a lot of these divisions, it'll match up with some of the changes that were made in the plan in the years prior. So again, this, I'm
Councilmember
sorry.
Criswell, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sue, I'd like to go back to that page again. So, to what, yeah, back there. So I just want to make sure we as a council understand this, that some of our problems, I don't want to say problems, but some of our unfunding could be attributed to the fact that we were manipulating that multiplier. So would that be an accurate statement?
Yes,
we-
it's accurate. Yep, it's
Well,
accurate
that's
because
a problem. And maybe council at the time didn't understand what they were doing. I mean, yeah, it's nice, you know, you made your employees happy. But what you also did was you increased the burden on the taxpayer in the city to fund that increase in that unfunded portion that was being created as you raise that multiplier. So now the question is, say that council decides, just for the sake of argument, I'm just arguing, I'm looking for debate and I'm looking to become informed, is let's say that there is a decision to lower that multiplier down to 2.0. Would we not be able to do that because we're not 80% funded?
no, because that would reduce your liability. It wouldn't increase your liabilities. You can do anything to the plan that's going to reduce your cost and reduce your liability. It's just you can't make any enhancements to the plan.
Okay, and it looks like that 2.5 was in around
2008.
Yeah, I thought it was either 2008 or 2009, but when I looked at the minutes, thank you.
Yep. And again, kind of, you mentioned this a few minutes ago, but with these groups, when there is a union involved, it is something that, you know, would have to be negotiated with the unions. It's not something that the city could arbitrarily make the decision and change it on a going forward basis.
No, I mean, I respect the collective bargaining process. So I, you know, that's why I'm trying to say, it's for the sake of gaining information. I don't want to, you know, just trying to understand things. Thank you.
Nope, good questions. I appreciate them. So again, this is just, it breaks down all your divisions and gives you that historical data from the time that you came in to MERS, which is nice, and collective bargaining and things like that. This shows you any additional monies that go in when someone gets ready to retire. If it's above, for example, unpaid vacation time, something like that. When someone gets ready to retire, if that is included, and that is completely up to the city, it's not a MERS thing. If they are going to include that in someone's FAC, so when it's reported, if there's a lump sum payout at retirement, it's reported to us as whether it's includable or excluded in their FAC wages. And so there is a history, I should say, of those type of lump sums going in. And so again, it's completely up to you in administering your plan. We just want to make sure that you're properly funding those. And so this 4% is a load assumption. It's not an actual 4% increase, but we know that historically those, you know, there are additional amounts that go in upon retirement. And so we're just making sure that you're funding it up front so that it doesn't come in, we're not expecting it, and it creates any unfunded liability going forward. Lots of information on risk. Welcome you to read and let me know if you have any questions. State reporting. This is all the information that you need for Treasury when you fill out Form 5572, because they have uniform assumptions that they want to use in order to look at the state on an apple to apples basis, because there are some home rule plans, cities that run their own defined benefit plans. And so they want uniform assumptions so that they can look at everybody as an even playing field. And so we'll show you the state uses 7% rate of return, what the numbers look like. It doesn't impact your annual valuation, but they're all right here. So this is everything that you need for your reporting. And that is the end of the valuation. Questions?
Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
Yes, page 38.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, when I studied this report, the two numbers, the 2 points that were kind of important to me was number 3 and number 5. And I have to agree, you don't look at something at a point in time, you look at the trend and you look at it over a period of time. But we're looking at 2020, and that ratio of actives to retirees and beneficiaries is actually below 1.0. So that bothers me a little bit, that we're not having, the as active participants in the plan. And will that number continue to go down in 21?
Yes, because you've closed the plan. So you're not going to have any more actives coming in. So that's very normal. You're seeing that trend down because you've closed the plan. So your new hires are going into your hybrid plan. And so that's why. So you're going to continue to see the plan weighted more heavily with your retirees and your beneficiaries.
Okay, good. Okay, and then number 5.
Mm-hmm.
If you could discuss that a little bit.
Market value of assets to benefit payments. This has got to do with your payroll.
5. She had asked about 5.
Yeah, number 5.
To the market value of assets. This is something that I will put something together and I'll send it back to you because it's pretty complicated, to say the least, and I don't want to misspeak. So let me put this in writing and send it to you, because this is something that, the actuaries are using as far as their measurements. And I want to make sure that I am accurate.
Well, it's showing, and whatever the analysis is, whatever the underlying assumptions are, whatever the data is, the end result is that the calculation is that the ratio is negative. So there's a negative cash flow.
There is. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That's why let me put this in writing and send it to you, because it's not a bad thing. It honestly is not. But I am not comfortable giving you an answer right now, because I'd rather double check my facts and make sure that I get you an accurate answer on that.
Okay, good. I'm glad I asked then. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions, concerns that you might have for me?
Councilmember Kivel, go ahead.
It's not much of a question, actually. It's more simply a statement. With our having taken measures to transition to DCs, most of this stuff is just going to be nursed until it gets to the end of the calendar for paying off the people that are remaining in that plan. Our obstacles will end up being more driven by negotiations on a contract to contract situation, rather than the idea of was posed about us changing the multiplier. That doesn't happen in a vacuum, and it never did happen in a vacuum. So all of that stuff is paid off. There's balance between, you move something down, something else is going to be picked up, because you still have the cost at the end that has to be met. So with that DC, it gives us a little bit less long-term concerns to be able to map out where we're at. So,
Yep, that's exactly what a defined contribution plan does. It takes away the volatility of, you know, market
exactly.
changes and things like that.
You know, if I can add something there real quick, you know, in about 6 or 7 years, you're going to have more people. If you replace those people that are going to retire in about 6 or 7 years, you're going to have more people in the defined contribution than you are the defined benefit. So there's going to be quite a bit of people exiting in about 6 or 7 years. They're going to be qualified for their pension and are going to be leaving. So that will turn over, and you're going to have more people in defined contribution plan than you are the benefit. So.
Mhm.
Thank you, Chief. Does anyone else have anything for Sue this evening? Thank you, Sue. That was very detailed, and we appreciate your time this evening.
My pleasure. I hope you all have a very lovely Thanksgiving.
Thank you. You as well.
You too.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. We are going to move on to unfinished business this evening. Unfinished business number 1, the 2022 Cdbg allocation. City Manager Zelnick, the floor is yours.
Tonight, we're considering the Cdbg allocation application for the projects for the city of South Lyon. On November 22nd tonight, we had the public hearing related to the Cdbg funds allocated to the city of South Lyon. The city's tentative funding allocation for 2022 is $30,225. The suggestion this evening is that the city will continue to use the allocation for 2022 to support the projects that we have funded in recent years, notably South Lyon Senior Center and Haven. I've attached the documents to the 2022 application and supporting documents. Also a letter from Haven requesting continued support for their activities in our community. The possible course of action is approve the 2022 Cdbg application for tentative funding of $30,225, for South Lyon Senior Center of $25,225, and Haven $5,000. The selected projects as identified, or choose different projects, or choose not to submit the application for funds. There is a suggested motion, and be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Councilmember Kivel, go ahead.
Actually, I think I'm quite comfortable with the notion of us continuing to support those two entities. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the select projects as identified for the 2022 Cdbg program, $30,225 for South Lyon Senior Center and Haven at $5,000.
Councilmember Kennedy. Oh, Councilmember Kennedy, you're muted. Sorry.
Reading his lips, I think he's letting us know that it's $25,225 for.
Okay.
That is exactly right, Mr. Zelnick. We picked up on that. So it's $25,225 for the senior center, $5,000 for.
Oh,
Haven.
I'm sorry.
And I'll second the adjusted motion there to reflect the accurate figures there.
We have a motion by Councilmember Kivel, supported by Councilmember Kennedy. Is there any further discussion? City Clerk Deaton, could you please lead us in a roll call vote?
Sure. Kurzweil,
Yes.
Mosier,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Dilg,
Yes.
Kennedy,
Yes,
Kivel,
Yes.
Belchat.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. New business number 2 this evening, waste hauling extension contract.
At our November 8th City Council meeting, we discussed a possible extension of the waste hauling contract. We previously received a letter from GFL outlining the items pertaining to the extending the contract. After discussion, recommendations were made to make additional changes to the extension. Those changes have been incorporated into a new proposal by GFL for a 5-year extension to the existing contract. I've attached a letter dated November 9th, 2021, outlining those changes, including increasing the current rate by 4% and continue the annual CPI language, and extending the yard waste through mid-December and continue the recycling cart distribution and adding an option to extend the new contract for an additional 5 years. I've included a letter dated November 9th from GFL outlining the extension, an agreement outlining the extension, the possible courses of action that City Council should approve or not approve the extension with GFL as outlined in letter dated November 9th, 2021, and per the attached agreement. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. We also have a representative from RSOC here as well as GFL to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, City Manager Zelnick. Councilmember Dilg, your virtual hand was up first, so go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two things. One, I believe, has been covered in speaking with or getting an email from the city attorney, but I just wanted to make sure that I don't have any conflict of interest with the fact that GFL is a client of the company that I work for. I don't work for them, but they're one of our clients. I just wanted to make sure.
City Attorney Imame, go ahead. Yep.
Thanks. So I didn't have a lot of the specifics. Did
Okay.
you assist in this contract?
No, it has nothing to do with this. I just wanted to make sure that because they're, they are a client of ours.
And I just want to ask a couple more questions.
Okay.
So I guess I'm not clear what you do for GFL. It's through your company?
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I work for my company and I produce proposals for our company to, we present them to clients like GFL and they might hire us for jobs.
And do you have any pending projects sitting here today that you're working on?
No, not right now.
And you haven't had anything to do with the contract that's in front of council?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't see any issue.
Okay. And if there's no issue, then I just have a quick question. I'm just wondering, and I know I should have brought this up last week, but I've just been thinking about it a lot. What would the harm be in putting this out to bid? Is there a reason we don't want to do this? We want to stick with what we have? I just wondered, Paul, in your thinking, what's the benefit that we have to extend this and not put it out to bid?
Well, we're getting the benefit of working with GFL and negotiating with them right now, and they're willing to offer us what we feel is a very good contract for being working for the city of South Lyon, who's been a good employee of the city by doing the garbage collection. We potentially could, if we go out for bid, we could lose this particular amount and details of the contract in going out for bid. They could technically not offer a rebid to the city, and we would take in other bids, which might not necessarily be advantageous to us as a city. Of course, that is a crapshoot. That's just like taking bids anywhere, but that is the risk that we potentially could run.
So, but I mean, we could do better technically.
We could do worse. GFL
Right.
may not we may get somebody else that may be able to, offer a dollar amount, but they may not be able to offer the service. And in my opinion, the underlying condition of renewing with someone like GFL is the service that they're providing the city of South Lyon.
Okay, I personally have no issues with GFL, nor does anyone I talk to. I just wondered if there was a benefit to not doing it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dill. Councilmember Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, Mike Sabo did do some of the work for us in the papers that he provided at the last meeting that showed what the current contracts are in neighboring communities. So we would see exactly where we are for other suppliers. So he kind of went out and tested the waters and provided that information to us to give us some ideas where this bid was going to land compared to similar communities being provided service by GFL, Waste Management, and others as well. And as we mentioned, I mean, we discussed this extensively last week. I'm grateful to Sam and Mike for their work on it. I appreciate Sam going back and basically getting agreement from his management on the items that we requested. And actually going above and beyond and getting an additional 800 of the recycling carts for those residents that don't have them at this particular point, and future residents will move in. And I'd like to go ahead and make the motion to approve the extension with GFL as outlined in the letter dated November 9th, 2021, and per the attached agreement.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Kennedy, supported by Councilmember Kurtzwell. Do we have any further discussion? City Clerk Deaton, could you lead us in a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Kennedy,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Mosier,
Yes.
Kurzweil,
Yes.
Kivel,
Yes.
Dilg,
Yes.
Pelchat.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Motion passes. On to new business this evening. New business number 1, HRC proposal for engineering services.
First, I'd like to thank Mike and Sam for sitting in on that long discussion of our pension and MERS or whatever, learning more than perhaps they wanted to for all this and being prepared to here tonight to answer any questions for us. And they really helped us out in preparing these contracts. Yes, tonight, professional engineering services, roadway asset management plan, and pavement cores and analysis. As part of our efforts to improve the conditions of our roads and develop a road improvement plan, HRC has submitted a proposal for professional engineering services to collect the pavement cores and update cost estimates and to assist with our road committee meetings. The materials attached we have tonight is a letter from HRC describing their proposal, the possible course of action to approve or not approve HRC to perform the pavement cores and to assist with the development of the road improvement plan for the city of South Lyon in the amount not to exceed $25,800. We'll be making a budget amendment to the account 203-451-801 to accommodate this particular contract. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. We also have Mike Dargis here is in at the meeting also to answer any questions.
Councilmember Kivel, go ahead.
Who is going to be responsible for the storage and caring for the core samples?
That would be HRC. But Mike, do you want to answer how that's all going to be done?
You're talking about the 60 to 70 cores?
That's correct, yes.
Yes, we would collect the cores, evaluate them, usually take pictures of them, but we would have those. We wouldn't just dump those at the city.
You'll be the ones that house them? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just concerned, you know, we've had some other issues with some water stuff that old drawings and things that had been engineered and that, and all of a sudden we're scrambling, trying to find where that information is. So it seems to me that since we're paying you guys, you should be the ones that are curating all this stuff. So that's all I had. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Kivel. Councilmember Hanson, go ahead.
I figured I'd ask as far as the, the statement of you have to spend money to save money. Is there any examples that you can maybe share with us as far as how this will save money going forward in the bigger project at hand?
Are you saying it based upon collecting the pavement cores, or I want to make sure I understand your question?
Collecting the cores and analyzing them. Like, is that going to maybe just so that we know, the money is going to be utilized in a, effective manner, so to speak? The pavement cores are going to be used to analyze a different section of roads that we're looking at making improvements on. We can analyze with the PACER study as we did to identify the surface conditions of the road, but we don't necessarily know the subsurface. So we don't know if the soils are conducive to just repaving over or grinding or milling and filling, or if they would need a total reconstruction. Some of the subdivisions have
2 to 4 inches of asphalt. Other ones have, 6 or 8 inches of concrete, but some of them have a proper bedding of gravel or sand, and some of them are just perhaps a manipulated subbase where they're paved just directly over the existing conditions. This will help us identify the condition of the road and be able to put the proper funding and method of improving the road to make sure that they last as long as possible.
Excellent. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Councilmember Kennedy, go ahead.
I'll make the motion to approve HRC to perform the pavement cores and to assist with the development of the road improvement plan for the city of South Lyon in the amount not to exceed $25,800 coming from account number 203-451-801.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Kennedy, supported by Councilmember Hanson. Do we have any further discussion? City Clerk Deaton, could you please again lead us in a roll call vote?
Dilg,
Yes.
Kibble,
Yes.
Kurzweil,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Mosier,
Yes.
Kennedy,
Yes.
Pelchat.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Motion passes. New business number 2 this evening, purchase of new Trimble Yuma 7 tablet with modules to read meters for water department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everybody, and congratulations to the new council members. Virtually, obviously. I'd like to say congratulations to the 2 new ones and to Mr. Kibble as well. So this has to do with the water department, what we read, the actual hardware. The handheld, the Trimble device that we currently are using within the water department, which is utilized for all the non-LTE meter reads, is no longer available to purchase. It's no longer being supported. We have had recently some communication problems with the current device and uploading the reads, and the department would like to purchase the updated version in order to read the meters accurately. This non-budgeted item can be purchased with the equipment miscellaneous account 592-556-977 as outlined in the quote from Badger for $9,113 with the included modules to read all types of meters currently installed within the city. I'm happy to take any questions regarding this purchase.
Councilmember Kennedy, go ahead.
Well, Doug, where do we stand right now with what's the percent of meter population that still uses this technology?
So currently we have approximately over 4,000, a little over 4,000 total accounts. We have currently under the radio frequency style of meters, about 2,299. I guess you could say that's pretty accurate. Just to the right to the nose, we have about 2,300. Total LTE that we've repaired so far, as you know, we have these estimated meters. That's a problem with any community. We've tackled a pretty big bear. In my opinion, I think the department's done a fantastic job in light of the pandemic. We have replaced 939 so far. So if you did the math roughly before, now as we replace some of these meters, more have failed. So actually we had a little football meter device that's completely gone now. We lost several more of those meters and those turned into more estimated meters. So we were kind of chasing our tail for a while there, but we were at around 72%, but now we're about 59% total that we have replaced the estimated meters on. So all total, there's going to be about 2,299 for a while, and we'll go after those, and we've ordered several more. So we're not large enough to replace them all in one fell swoop, and we're only going to be replacing the ones as noted before that the longest estimated, if that makes sense. We kind of have a prioritization list going there. So hope that answers.
Well, I applaud you for trying to squeeze the total useful life out of the meters that we have. You got a ballpark, maybe another year or two or something before we're.
I think we'll be really, really close in about less than 2 years. We had an issue there. We are going to get another couple hundred meters. We're in this budget year, we're slated to get it hopefully around 600 more. There's some supply issues, and that's with everything, obviously, but we have 300 more hopefully on the way this month, and that will give us, we'll cut this number in half, around 600 or so that we have estimated, and then we'll keep going. And I think within a year or two, we'll really have a handle on it.
That's great. I appreciate the information. That's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Kurzweil, go ahead.
Thank you. Doug, what are the facts supporting your request that this not go out to bid?
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that too. So basically, we use the item that we're replacing is proprietary. We're only gonna be able to get it through Badger Meter, through our reps, who we get the actual new LTE style meters from, the meter bodies that we're replacing that are estimated. And so the device we're using for the LTE meters is essentially available through these guys. And that's kind of the deal. We're locked in on that. Unless we were to switch completely, we can't obviously do that, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Councilmember Kibble, go ahead.
Well, I'd like to make the motion that we waive the section 2-224 of the City of South Lyon Code of Ordinances, approval for purchases or contracts over $2,000, competitive bidding for purchases or bidding over $5,000 because no advantage to the city will result from competitive bidding.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Kibble, supported by Councilmember Kennedy. Is there any further discussion? City Clerk Deaton, could you please lead us in a roll call vote?
Kennedy,
Yes.
Kurzweil,
Yes.
Kibble,
Yes.
Dilg,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Mosier,
Yes.
Felchat.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kibble, go ahead.
I'd also like to make a motion that we approve the purchase of the new Trimble Yuma 7 tablet with the 2 modules for the amount of $9,113, underlying item 592.556.977 to read meters via radio signal for the water department.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Kibble, supported by Councilmember Kennedy. Do we have any further discussion? City Clerk Deaton, could you please lead us in a roll call vote?
Hanson,
Yes.
Mosier,
Yes.
Kennedy,
Yes.
Kibble,
Yes.
Kurzweil,
Yes.
Dilg,
Yes.
Felchat.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion passes. New business number 3 this evening, resolution approving location for precinct number 5.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Due to the number of voters that we have in precinct 1, which happens to be our largest precinct, we do have to split that. We're not allowed to have more than 2,999 active voters, and we're approximately 3,200. So we have been looking at different locations to split that and where we want to split it at. The best thing we came up with is to keep Colonial Acres and the other sub over there, which now I lost my mind, as precinct 1, so we don't confuse everybody too much in Colonial Acres. And phase 5, we're going to have on this side of Colonial Acres, closer to the PD and fire department. We're thinking the best place that we could find was going to be the First United Methodist Church. We did speak with them. They're not going to charge us anything. The location in the fellowship hall is a very large area. It's right outside the parking lot. They have a lot of parking. They have a lot of handicap parking. We did look at the Kiwanis, but their parking lot is not ideal. So we did not look at that for very long. We don't have any of our own buildings we could use anymore. And we thought about asking to use Centennial over on 9 Mile, but we thought it would be best if we could try to keep this new precinct as close to the other precincts, so that the people that are going from precinct 1 at 10 Mile doesn't all of a sudden have to go down to 9 Mile and have to vote there, because, you know, this church is like it's pretty close to where they were voting. So we're trying to make it easy on the voters, and we think that would be a really good location. And like I said, they're not going to charge for it. We think it would be the best area.
Councilmember Dill, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wondered, when I was thinking about it, if using the senior center wouldn't be good for Colonial Acres.
We did speak with the senior center and they were not interested. They
right.
said if they close the day, they actually lose revenue.
Okay,
So, because we did to discuss that.
okay, thanks.
Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
Thank you. I had a question on the actual procedure. The suggested motion is to approve the First Methodist Church as precinct 5 polling location. But don't you need to take the first step and approve the split?
We did do that. Actually, the law
That was-
states that the election commission splits, they allow us to split the precinct, but city council has to approve the location.
Oh, so you can split without city council's approval?
Yes. The
Okay.
election commission does that, which we did.
Okay, that was, I just need that blank filled in.
Yeah.
Okay, then I move to approve the First United Methodist Church at 640 South Lafayette as precinct number 5 polling location.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Kurtzwell, supported by Councilmember Hanson to
Would it-
approve the,
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Would it be approving the resolution number 10-21?
Well, that talks about the split, and she said we don't need to approve the split.
No, there's 2 resolutions in here.
Right, there's the resolution from the commission, that's on the first one, that's with the 3 people. The
Yes,
next resolution, when you read it, that resolution says that council is approving the split.
wow.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
tell you what, I'm gonna withdraw my motion. Can we,
Yep.
like to start over.
Okay. Yep, or well, do you need?
I think I know where
Okay,
council is going. Okay. I move to approve the resolution. Resolution number 10-21, City of South Lyon, Oakland County, Michigan, titled Resolution Approving an Election Precinct Split and Adding a New Election Precinct Location.
I'll support.
we have a motion by Councilmember Kurtzwell, supported by Councilmember Kivel. Any further discussion? City Attorney Hamame, do you have anything? Okay. City Clerk Deaton, could you please lead us in a roll call vote?
Kennedy,
Yes.
Kivel,
Yes.
Dill,
Yes,
Yes.
Mosier, Kurtzweil,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Colchat.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. New business number 4 this evening, adoption of FSA service agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you don't mind, I'll.
Thank you, Patricia. I couldn't find you, so thank
That's
you.
okay. I'm up here or wherever I am on your screen. Thank you, Council. Tonight I am presenting a client service agreement with a new vendor. The City of South Lyon has been working with a company called Kushner and Company. They're based out in the Kalamazoo area to assume the administration of the city's FSA and DCSA flexible spending account and dependent care spending accounts. Our current vendor that we've been working with, we've had some customer service issues over the past 2 years. And so we would prefer not to continue extending our contract with them for the next few years. So we were looking for a new vendor, and we worked with VTC, who is our benefit administrator that helps us with our medical and dental benefits and things like that for our employees. And they secured this company. And so what we have done is we've attached a resolution and a client consulting and administrative service agreement for your review. And this would be for start of January 1st, 2022, which would be a calendar year benefit for the city's employees. So what we're asking tonight is for you to approve or not approve the client consulting and administrative service agreement with Kushner and Company to then provide FSA and DCSA Section 125 cafeteria plan benefits to City of South Lyon employees. If anyone has any questions that I might be able to assist with.
Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
This is just a budget question. Is this just a trade-off in terms of money under your budget?
Yes, at the very back of the service agreement, there's a fee schedule that I included for your review. It was called Exhibit C. These fees are exactly the same as what we have in our current contract with our current FSA provider. The only unbudgeted amount will be the $250 setup to create our enrollment program with them this year, because we've never used them as a vendor before. So that will be unbudgeted, but the going forward annual fee, if we continue to use them in future years, of $250 is actually similar to what we have paid the current provider.
So in other words, its impact on this year's budget is neutral.
Pretty much. I mean, $250 basically.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Kivel, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the attached resolution to approve client consulting and administrative services agreement between the City of South Lyon and Kushner and Company Incorporated.
A second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Kivel, supported by Councilmember Kennedy. Is there any further discussion? City Clerk Deaton, could you please lead us in a roll call vote?
Mosier,
Yes.
Kurzweil,
Yes.
Guild,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Kivel,
Yes.
Kennedy,
Yes.
Elchat.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Motion passes. New business number 5 this evening, recommendation to retain labor union counsel in accordance with City Charter Section 6.6C. City Attorney Hamame, go ahead.
Thanks. This is pretty self-explanatory, but let me just give you a little bit more information. Pat Asseltine was an attorney in my office who retired just before I got there. And he handled all of the city's union labor work. He retired and he has yet to be replaced. Laura Amputzler in our office handles general labor employment. And since the city's really union needs were pretty minimal, she was assisting. She would step up and help as needed. But you really should have somebody who specializes in union labor work on retainer. In the event something comes up, there's a unique issue that Laura hasn't experienced, you would be better served by somebody who specializes in that area. So my recommendation is that you hire labor counsel. Took the liberty of asking Greg Schultz of Keller Toma to submit an engagement letter. Obviously, you're not obligated to go with him, but I know that Paul has relationships with this firm, and Laura Amputzler has worked with this particular attorney, and he does come highly recommended.
Thank you, City Attorney Hamame. Councilmember Kivel, go ahead.
I do want to make sure that everybody understands Pat Asseltine had enormous volumes of our history and how it was influenced by the way the trends that we were trying to push our relationships and our contracts with our labor units. And that's valuable to know which way things are going, have a better sense of what trends are, having somebody that actually does this full time is going to end up being in our best interest. No question about that. If nobody's got anything, I just soon make the motion that we approve the retention of the agreement with Gregory T. Schultz.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Kibble, supported by Councilmember Hanson. Any further discussion? City Clerk Deaton, could you please lead us in a roll call vote?
Dilg,
Yes.
Kurzweil,
Yes.
Kennedy,
Yes.
Kibble,
Yes.
Mosher,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Pelchat.
Yes,
Thank you.
motion passes. We're going to move on to the budget this evening. Does anyone have anything on the budget tonight? Okay. We're going to move on to our second public comment this evening. Please remember to please state your name and address, and remember our 2-minute time limit. City Clerk Deaton, do we have anyone awaiting public comment?
We do not.
Thank you. We will now at this time close public comment and move on to the manager's report with City Manager Zelnick.
I want to update council on a few items as well as the public. I recently met with a representative of the Historical Society, the Parks and Rec Commission, and Mark Russell, who we use as our landscape architect, to discuss the future plans for placing additional buildings within the historical village. We're working with the McCaddy Park Master Plan to ensure that their placement is in line with the additional planned improvements at McCaddy Park. And the proposed plan and the discussion will come before council at a later meeting. We continue to move forward regarding the fire chief's position. We've had that posted in various municipal associations throughout the county and state. I'll update you as we move forward with that, as we started to get resumes already in. The WeGo swing has been installed. The safety mulch is also equipment has been installed there as well. The supplier is expected to be out soon to make minor adjustments on the equipment. The Parks and Rec Master Plan, the draft has been made available, and we're within the 30-day public viewing. It's posted on the website as well as various locations. We will have it on the December 13th City Council agenda for the public hearing and adoption. Request the City Council members to provide me a list of your goals and objectives for the 2022-23 budget year. You can either email me those or drop them off at City Hall. I would ask that you would provide those to me with your goals and objectives by January 10th at the latest, and I'll be updating you on a tentative schedule that will be moving forward for the upcoming budget year. The last items, our new city website is up and running. We're making additional improvements and changes while correcting minor items or content with some photos and other items did not come through with the migration to the new site. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Councilmember Kibble, go ahead.
Paul, do you know, are they going to be using a rubberized mulch going around that WeGo?
No, it's a standard mulch that was recommended by Pensura to use. It's kind of just a fibrous mulch. It's not rubber.
Okay. All right. And is that void underneath the transition ramp from the sidewalk to the WeGo going to be filled in?
No, it's not. It's not necessary that it be filled in.
Okay. It looks kind of tentative there. If it's just setting on sort of a ledge of some asphalt on the underside. So
I will check on that though, since you brought that up.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else have anything for Paul this evening? Okay. We'll move on to our council comments this evening, and we'll start with Councilmember Dill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually don't have anything this week. It's been a long night already. I'll just say happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Thank you. That's great. Have a great night as well. Councilmember Kibble.
I'm going to follow suit. I don't really have anything. Thanks.
Okay, no problem.
But happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Yes, absolutely. Councilmember Mosher.
Well, I'm a lot the same there. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody and go Lions.
I appreciate that. Councilmember Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did want to say the Lions, played a valiant effort against Traverse City this past weekend. Though the game, honestly didn't turn out how we were all hoping. I did want to express my sincere feeling that the team gave it their best effort and they really made their community proud. And honestly, that's something that I just really wanted to stress. Additionally, recent news articles published on WHMI, as well as the South Lyon Herald, showcased our We Go swing, and the coverage really showcased the ways our city is becoming more inclusive and accessible to all individuals. So those sorts of projects, I definitely think would be positive in growing our city, as well as these sorts of positive stories that get out into the community and showcase South Lyon. So, and finally, Small Business Saturday is coming up. So hope to see everybody downtown checking out some small businesses around the city. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Basically, I just want to remind everyone that the South Lyon Historical Society will have their Dulcimer Christmas concert in the chapel at the Historical Village this Sunday, November 28th, at both 4 o'clock and 6:30 p.m. Tickets are $6 in advance and are available at both Parkside Cleaners and Bachman Florist here in South Lyon. And just another reminder about the South Lyon Holiday Spectacular on Saturday, December 4th. Schedule of events can be found on the Downtown South Lyon Facebook page, as well as several others. The Christmas House will also be offering tours at their location beginning at 4:30 on that day. And the lighted parade will take place starting at 6 p.m. and will conclude at the Historical Village as we welcome Santa to our community. That's all I had. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you. Councilmember Kurtzwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too would like to thank the parents, the coaches, the fans, and most of all, those fabulous young men of the South Lyon football team for a fabulous nail-biting season of good athletics and many, many, many wins. All of you, hopefully, are going to have great journeys in your life because you have the makings for a great journey. You have character, you have success, you have commitment to your community, and most of all, you're just really, really nice guys. So I'd like to thank you for making us proud of South Lyon. And believe me, we are very, very proud of all of you. Next, I'd like everybody to enjoy their Thanksgiving Wednesday, which is big social night out. Every restaurateur will tell you. And I'd like to remind everybody, you don't have to go anywhere except for downtown South Lyon and enjoy your Wednesday night. We have Lake Street Tavern, we have Twisted Cork, we have, of course, the South Lyon Hotel, who's going to have a guest concierge, along with 2 bands playing on both floors. So everybody get out, enjoy yourself, and see some people you haven't seen in a while. Say hi to some people you haven't seen in a while. Give some hugs for Pete's sake, get out and enjoy yourself and do it in South Lyon and be safe. Have a good Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to be this brief. Obviously, I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving this week and safe travels if you're going to be traveling over the holiday. The South Lyon football team, what can you say? An incredible season. They are your regional champions, 12-1 this year, the most wins in high school or school history. Ran into a very talented Traverse City Central team. I don't know if any of you got to catch the game or at least listen to it. The Trojans have a quarterback that plays middle linebacker that will be attending Notre Dame next year, and the young man is playing at a different level than most at that age. So everyone's very proud of the team. I love the city coming out to send them off with our first responders. That's awesome. It really was a week of nostalgia for me. Growing up here in the 90s, 91 and 95 jump out to me for sure. where, you know, everyone was there. The town literally shut down. WHMI was there. You know, I recall as a child, the Lions losing to East Lansing and listening to them on the radio on 93.5. And that's one thing I did want to mention too, was we've rekindled a really nice relationship with 93.5, Livingston County's own. They came out and did 3 games this year. They were incredibly complimentary to our crowd and our facilities here at South Lyon. And so I hope the folks that, you know, didn't get in on the streaming or able to be there in person enjoyed the coverage from WHMI, because I know it was appreciated by a lot of the folks that I ran into over at the game. So that's going to do it for my comments this evening. I will not be looking for a motion to adjourn, as we'll be looking to go into closed session this evening. Councilmember Kurtzwell.
I move to go into closed session pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, MCL 15.268, subsection 8, to consider attorney-client privilege communication, namely a letter dated November 8th, 2021.
I'll second.
Thank you. City Clerk Deaton, could you lead us in a roll call vote?
Kennedy,
Yes.
Kibble. Oh, I think I lost Kibble.
Glenn, you're muted.
Yeah,
There
I'm
he
sorry, yes.
I found him. Dilg,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Kurzweil,
Yes.
Mosier,
Yes.
Pelchat,
Yes. Motion passes. City Clerk Deaton, would you like to remind our viewers at home the process on exiting and then waiting in the waiting room to re-enter the meeting when we're done?
Yeah, we actually just asked that everyone leave the meeting. While we have closed session, I'll stop the recording. And then when council enters back into open session, if they are in the waiting room, we can readmit them.
Thank you so much for that clarification.
Okay, so the meeting is unlocked. There is no one in the waiting room.
Thank you. Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
Does the mayor desire a motion to adjourn?
Yes, please.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
Happy
Everyone have a great
Thanksgiving.
week. I hope you feel better, City Attorney Amami. Have a
Thank
great
you.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.